In a quiet suburb outside Atlanta, Georgia, the kind of place where lawns stay manicured even in December, lived Eleanor Whitaker. Everyone called her Ellie, sweet, church-going Ellie who baked peach cobbler for new neighbors and always asked after your kids. Her only daughter, Sarah, had married young at 21. The husband was Ryan Caldwell, a tall, soft-spoken electrician from Macon who wore flannel shirts and smelled faintly of sawdust and motor oil. He made Sarah laugh in a way Ellie hadn't heard since the girl was small. Ellie never said it out loud, but she didn't like how Ryan took up space in her daughter's life. He filled the rooms with his tools, his boots by the door, his voice on the phone late at night. He moved Sarah 2 towns over into a little ranch house with azaleas out front. Ellie drove there every Sunday after church with a Tupperware of something homemade. "Just checking in," she'd say, smiling tight. Ryan always thanked her politely. He even fixed the leaky faucet in the guest bathroom once without being asked. But Ellie noticed things. The way Sarah's eyes sometimes looked tired, like she was carrying conversations she couldn't finish. The small bruises on her upper arm that Sarah laughed off as bumping into the cabinet. The nights Ryan worked late and Sarah sat alone on the couch scrolling her phone with the volume low. Ellie saw it all. She told herself she was protecting her girl, the same way she'd protected her from bullies in 3rd grade, from the boy who broke her heart in high school. Mothers don't stop when the wedding bells ring. They just get quieter about it. One Friday in late October, Ryan didn't come home. Sarah called Ellie at 11:47 p.m., voice small. "Mom," he said he was finishing a job in Decatur, "but it's been hours and his phone's off. I'm scared." Ellie was there in 30 minutes, still in her housecoat. She hugged Sarah, rubbed her back in slow circles, and made chamomile tea the way Sarah liked it, with 2 sugars and a whisper of milk. They waited together on the living room couch until the sky turned the color of old bruises. By morning, the sheriff's department was involved. Ryan's work van was found parked behind a half-finished house in a new development. Tools still open on the tailgate like he'd just stepped away for a smoke. No blood, no note, no body. Sarah cried until her face swelled. Ellie stayed. She cooked meals, answered the door when neighbors brought casseroles, fielded the endless phone calls from Ryan's worried mother up in Chattanooga. "He's probably just stressed," Ellie told everyone. "Men sometimes need space." She said it with such calm certainty that people nodded and stopped asking. Weeks passed. The search faded into posters on telephone poles that curled at the edges. Sarah moved back into Ellie's house, just until things settle. She slept in her old bedroom. Ellie kept Ryan's things in the garage, his Carhartt jacket, his favorite coffee mug with the cracked handle, a pair of work boots caked with red Georgia clay. She told Sarah it was better not to look at them yet. One night in early December, Sarah woke to the sound of digging. It came from the backyard, slow, deliberate scrapes of metal on dirt. She sat up in the dark, heart hammering. The clock said 3:14 a.m. She slipped down the hallway in socks. The kitchen light was on. Through the window above the sink, she saw her mother in the backyard, wearing an old cardigan and gardening gloves, digging under the big live oak where the azaleas used to grow before the freeze. Sarah opened the back door quietly. Cold air rushed in. "Mom!" Ellie didn't startle. She kept working the shovel, breathing steady. The hole was already deep, almost to her knees. A black contractor bag lay beside it, long and heavy, knotted at both ends. Sarah's voice cracked. "What are you doing?" Ellie finally looked up. Her face was calm, almost serene, like she was weeding flower beds. "I'm fixing things, baby, like I always do." Sarah stepped onto the grass. Her bare feet went numb instantly. She stared at the bag. Something inside shifted slightly when the wind moved the branches overhead, like it was trying to settle. "Is that?" Ellie drove the shovel in again. "He wasn't good for you. You know it. The bruises. The way he talked to you when he thought no one was listening. I heard him that night on the patio, telling you to stop calling me so much, like I was the problem." She paused, wiped her forehead with the back of her glove. "I waited until he was asleep on the couch. Pillow. It was quick. He didn't even fight much." Sarah's knees buckled. She sat in the wet grass, You killed him. I protected you. Ellie's voice was gentle, the same tone she used when Sarah was little and afraid of thunderstorms. He was going to take you away from me, little by little. You were already slipping. I could see it in your eyes. You weren't my Sarah anymore. Sarah stared at the bag. A small tear had opened near the bottom. Something pale showed through skin, maybe a wrist. The red clay still clung to it. Ellie kept digging. No one will look here. The ground under the oak is soft. Always has been. I planted flowers over your daddy's old dog when you were 6. Remember? No one ever knew. It'll be the same. Sarah's mouth moved, but no sound came out at first. Then, very quietly, I loved him. Ellie stopped. For the first time, her face changed. Something flickered behind her eyes, sharp and wounded. You think you did, but love doesn't leave marks. Love doesn't make you flinch when someone raises their voice. I know what love looks like. I gave you everything. Sarah looked back toward the house. The windows were dark. The neighborhood slept. No one would hear if she screamed. No one would come. Ellie reached down and dragged the bag closer to the hole. It made a heavy, wet sound against the dirt. Help me, she said. Not a command, a request, like asking her to set the table. We finish this together, and tomorrow we can plant something pretty. Tulips, maybe. You always liked tulips. Sarah didn't move. Ellie tilted her head. Sarah, baby, don't make me do this alone. The wind moved through the oak again. Leaves rattled like dry paper. Somewhere far off, a dog barked once and went quiet. Sarah stood up slowly. Her legs shook. She walked to the shovel, picked it up. The handle was cold and damp from her mother's grip. Ellie smiled, small, relieved. That's my girl. Sarah lifted the shovel. Not toward the hole, toward her mother. Ellie saw it too late. The blade came down once, hard, against the side of Ellie's head. There was a wet crunch. Ellie dropped like a marionette with cut strings. She lay on her side in the half-dug grave, eyes open, surprised. Sarah stood over her a long moment, breathing hard. Then she dropped the shovel. She looked at the black bag, at her mother's body, at the dark windows of the house that had always felt too big and too quiet. She walked inside without closing the back door. She went to the kitchen phone, the old landline Ellie still kept plugged in, and dialed 911. When the operator answered, Sarah's voice was calm, almost polite. I need to report 2 bodies in my backyard, she said. One's my husband, the other's my mother. She killed him, and I just killed her. She hung up before they could ask questions. Then she sat at the kitchen table in the dark, waiting for the red and blue lights to come flashing down the street. Outside,